I have my eyes on the clock. We're just waiting for one more minute. Let everyone come in, settle in, get some water, get some coffee. This is going to be an exciting discussion. Okay. Um, Thank you everyone for joining in. I'm really excited about the discussion today. The topic for our discussion is reimagining retirement, how AI is transforming the US retirement industry, right? There is no conversation today that can happen without conversation around AI or generative AI or agentic AI. So if you have your buzzword bingo cards out, we are going to use a lot of the jargons and buzzwords, but I have a panel that makes it real. I have a panel which is in the industry driving this transformation and change in a safe, pragmatic, real manner, right? So I'm going to hear a lot about it. So AI is reshaping everything, right? From plan onboarding to participant servicing. The path is complex, but this panel is going to make us get ready in terms of how we want to do this. For everyone, I'm Ronak Doshi. I'm partner with Everest Group, and I'm going to be a moderator for the day. I have a fantastic panelist, and I'm going to let them introduce. Tim, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you start?
Thank you. And thank you for having me. So I'm Tim Rouse. I'm the executive director of the Spark Institute. We are the trade association for the U.S. retirement industry. Our member firms record keep the retirement accounts for roughly 125 million American workers saving for retirement.
We're excited to have you and listen to your views. Paril, I'll come next to you.
Thank you, Ronak, and thanks for having me as well. Paril Patel. I am a managing director at Ernst & Young, responsible for co-leading our retirement consulting practice. I'm really excited about this topic, so looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, no, we are excited to hear about what you have to say. And Mahesh, last but again not the least, audio.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm first glad to be here on a special day, not just the webinar, but today is National 401k Day. So on this day, I'm glad to join this panel. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Congruent. Congruent is a specialist firm in the retirement space, offering SaaS platforms and solutions and supporting millions of participants. So look forward to the conversation today.
Thank you. So for those who've been kind of trickling in and joining us, this is going to be an amazing conversation around how AI is transforming the US retirement industry. But I thought before we talk about how this panel thinks about AI and what are we seeing in the industry, we wanted to do a quick poll, right? We wanted to first get your views in terms of where is your organization today in terms of adopting AI. So can you have the first poll, please? Yeah. So let's get your point of view out here, right? Which is, what are you seeing today, right, in your organization in terms of adopting AI in retirement plan operations, right? Are you already using it, experimenting with it, exploring, not yet considering, unsure? Do share your views. Would love to hear about it. Tim, what do you see, right? Again, what do you expect the response to come out now?
I would suspect, Ronak, that a lot of people have already started in some capacity to utilize some aspects of AI.
Yeah,
that's my
opinion. I think AI in itself is not new, right? So as I'm pretty sure that vast majority of the members in the audience in their organization have been using, even if not generative AI, traditional AI for quite some time now.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna give another 10 seconds, but Mahesh, any last views on this before we close the poll?
As usual, you will see middle of the pack responses, but I feel there may be a plateau, so we'll talk more.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's see the results of the poll. Let's see where the, so it's interesting, right? Because Mahesh, I think you mentioned, right, it's going to be in the middle of the pack, but it's actually top of the pack, which is the leading, right? So 37% of the attendees are saying they're already using AI in multiple areas.
Yeah.
31% is already experimenting with some bit of pilots. And then there are a few who are exploring, very little in terms of not yet or unsure. So bulk of the industry, right? If I think about, this is a great sample out here, right? More than 68% are doing something with AI right now. So this is really exciting in terms of how it is shaping up. And again, as I think about the industry and as I look at how retirement industry is kind of shaping up, we always talk about um, there's a lot of inefficiencies, right? There's a lot of challenges, right, with legacy data, legacy technology, legacy processes. We always talk about how we need to kind of drive a lot of change, a lot of modernization to be able to meet the expectations in terms of personalization, right? The holistic financial wellness, to protect our systems from cyber risk, privacy threats, keep up with the upcoming regulations and the overall compliance burdens, but at the same time, manage all of this uh, with the overall uncertainty that is around us, right? We all kind of are in that continuous perma crisis environment, right? With that, we need to kind of be able to manage the expectations, right? This is a huge expectation from plan participants and as well as plan sponsors to be creating that future wellness programs as you're looking at the broader retirement pool. This coupled with what we are seeing from a talent market, it definitely creates a heady mix, right? There's process, technology, data, skills. We do see a bit of a debt across all of these areas. And at the same time, now we are at that inflection point where a lot of us are looking to adopt AI in our work to amplify what we are doing, drive that change. So definitely it creates that immense pressure because we have to solve for what we already have, but bring in the new and kind of enable that with AI. So I wanted to ask all of you, right? And as we go around this panel, and I think I have the same question for all three of you to start with, and then we'll go into different directions. Uh, what are you seeing in terms of adoption of AI? What are the practical use cases that are already emerging as you're looking at? So Tim, I'm going to start with you.
Sorry, Ronak, did you say me? I'll go first.
Yeah. Why don't you go first?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll take them in the order that you mentioned them. So let's start with the legacy and of the tech and the manual workflows that we have. We all know that the retirement industry is built on a patchwork of legacy systems. Both the plan sponsors, the record keepers, the TPAs, payroll providers, they're all operating with different protocols. AI can't erase all of that overnight. But it can help bridge the gap and eliminate or reduce a lot of the not in good order NIGO rates that we have today. I think next you mentioned participant expectation and personalization, which is obviously very important and an area where there is a lot of anticipation and hope with regard to AI. We know from our experience at Spark and the primary research that we've conducted that participants do and want, they do want and expect retirement plans to provide services that customize the results for them, that are intuitive, that are available 24/7. AI can certainly help us meet those expectations through personalized nudges, tailored plan guidance, smarter education tools. But we have to do that all with clear boundaries and established regulations. In this area, the regulations are, I would say, still in their infancy. You mentioned also security, absolutely very important. Spark has had for almost 10 years now a data security oversight board. We also have a fraud protection committee, and we also have a privacy committee, a separate Privacy Committee. AI with regard to cybersecurity and fraud is really a double-edged sword. It can help us detect fraud and unusual behaviors faster than a rules-based system. But it also offers the bad guys new and improved ways to attack us. So that's just the reality of the world that we live in. And then you mentioned the cost pressures and also litigation. So the economic realities behind AI are, we'll be honest, the retirement industry has been under sustained pricing pressure for years. Sponsors are demanding more services. Participants are expecting, as you point out, personalized experiences. And then on the flip side, you have litigation over fees, which remains a constant pain point in our industry. So given this environment and these two competing pressures on our industry, AI is not a luxury for our members. It's really a survival tool.
Okay, no, then that is amazing, right? I like the way you frame it, that this is a survival tool. And the other point that you made, as I paraphrase that, is AI value is a marathon journey, and it's not like a one and done journey. So there's a lot of work that we need to do and kind of balance multiple priorities, right? From the experience to the regulations to the privacy concerns, cyber to data, to also kind of managing the cost. There are several kind of pillars that we need to kind of optimize to be able to get where we are, and then use AI to drive advancements in all of those. So this is really fantastic, and it's kind of shaping up really well. Paril, I wanted to come to you, right? Again, what are you seeing? Use cases around how record keepers are looking at AI in the processes. What's the overall impact that you are seeing broadly getting recognized?
Yeah, certainly. And I might kind of think about this in a two different way. One, like, what's the value prop? Why this is becoming a new thing? And in some ways, as we discussed, people, and Tim mentioned, right, people have been using AI for retirement readiness, for personalized nudges for the participants. So traditionally, AI has been in the use in the industry for quite some time. What is really new and exciting is this added firepower of the generative AI, the agentic AI, that has potential to tackle some of these most pressing pain points we had in our industry. And these pain points were because of all the data that is buried, the unstructured data that we as an industry have to deal with. Think your plan rules, think your plan documents, your firm's operating procedures, all the paper documents we have to receive and process from plan sponsors and participants. Those have been the ones that have come in the way of streamlining the operations, creating better client experiences, enabling more personalized nudges. So to me, that is like the real firepower that's kind of somewhat new, if you will, right? Now, from a record keeper perspective, as Tim mentioned, the cost pressure continues. It's not like relenting. The traditional approach by retirement industry was, how do I lower my cost? And what always came to mind was, hey, can I use labor arbitrage by maybe outsourcing? Can I use automation arbitrage to gain some efficiency by leveraging RPAs and whatnot? Today, what I would describe it as, what we are witnessing is what I call AI arbitrage. And the dialogue as a result has shifted from gaining 20, 30, 40% efficiency gains from a cost reduction perspective to enabling 2x, 5x operational scale. That, to me, from a record keeper lens perspective, is really the game changer here. And I'll talk about some of the use cases. Tim mentioned some of them already. The other one is from a participant perspective or plan sponsor's perspective, right? And it's all about simplifying the complex. I was looking at some stats about maybe 3-4 months ago, and I ran into this study. It was conducted maybe a couple of years ago, but it said that 37% of the participants were not feeling comfortable about using the self-servicing tool we have been building, especially when they're doing complex transactions.
Yeah.
And as an engineer, as a product person, as a person who has been investing in this space for a long time, that's frustrating, right? Like, we build all these great self-service tools, but people don't feel comfortable using them, not because they don't know how to use the tools, but because if they, on a complex decision like RMD, if they make a mistake, the repercussions are really, really high. So they end up picking up the call, seeking human advice, wanting to double check. And I believe there is a huge capability that generative AI is enabling, when combined with power of traditional AI, enables us to interpret plan rules, access our firm's procedures in the context of that participant situation, their age, the transaction, the type of scenario that they are under, to create highly personalized recommendations in line without them having to do channel hopping. So now, with that as a context, from a use case perspective, if you look at the first wave, majority of the AI use cases have been around empowering employees, streamlining the operations behind the scenes, and the way these record keepers operate and serve participants and plan sponsors. So think of your employee assist, your co-pilots that harness your existing firm knowledge sources or your APIs to make employees' life a lot more easier, make them smarter, give them the information they need at their fingertips. We've seen small call routing and smart workflow routing maturing from NLP-based approaches to more AI-powered solutions. Leveraging AI, Tim mentioned, like, hey, it can be used to do a lot of quality and compliance monitoring of the processes and calls. Even RFP response automation, fraud and anomaly detection. I mean, I was so excited to see this particular use case. This was in with a large record keeper. We were able to actually combine log-on activity, transactional activities, call transcript to detect elder abuse sooner rather than later, giving them a head start, if you will, to flag suspicious activities before the actual fraud occurs. So really exciting from how the capabilities, the use cases that we are seeing in the industry are making record keepers a lot more, efficient in how they serve their customers in terms of participants and plan sponsors. But as more and more consumers, like all of us, begin to adopt AI in our own personal lives, and there will be, and in my opinion, there is already a seismic shift happening. For example, you may have seen articles lately around people are increasingly using AI to replace traditional searches, which has resulted in a significant decline to traditional website visits, which is like earth-shattering if you think about that, right? So what does that mean? So what we think is going to happen in the second wave is participants and plan sponsors' expectations of how they interact with retirement record keeper is going to evolve rapidly. As time goes by, users are going to expect the record keepers to provide more conversational, more hyper-individualized, more omni-channel experience. And what I mean by that is moving away from the traditional static experiences to more dynamic experiences with inline contextual help for participants and plan sponsors. Happy to talk about some of these examples that we have seen in the industry that changes the way RMD bots used to work, or even streamlining rollovers by leveraging some of these conversational experiences. And finally, I don't want to minimize another use case that we are seeing in the industry, which is about transforming the way products and applications are developed for the benefits of participants, plan sponsors, and employees. Overall, significantly lowering the cost and time it takes to develop new features and capabilities for our stakeholders. in past 10, 15 years, almost many of the record keepers have embarked upon this costly undertaking of platform modernization, experience metamorphosis, operational transformation. But most of such programs have, what we see in the industry, have run over budget and somewhat behind schedule. So AI in that software development lifecycle, in terms of the product development lifecycle, is beginning to help streamline some of those efforts. What started with GitHub Copilot moved into Windsurf and Cursor, but it's maturing rapidly with vibe coding and some of the agentic frameworks that we are seeing in the industry. And frankly, this democratization of AI is creating a level playing field for record keepers of all sizes. It used to be that larger record keepers had larger technology budget and they could do things that smaller record keepers couldn't do. But now this AI-based approach is opening doors for even more smaller and nimbler record keepers to regain that footing and the competitive advantage. Now, from a software development or PDLC perspective, what we are seeing is 3 tiered of use cases. One, identifying, are we building the right features? Are we building the right experiences for our stakeholders? So basically, are we building the right thing? Then we are seeing streamlining of the core coding, testing, and deployment activities. And we are also seeing the 3rd tier, which is reducing all the toil related to software development, right? To develop application, you have to define your environment, create your environment. You have to gain access to your APIs, your systems. There's a lot of toil in the system, and how can you automate that through agentic approaches? One thing that I was actually a couple of days ago, talking to one of the record keepers, and what is exciting about what they are trying to do is use AI to simulate personas. Almost every record keeper has invested heavily into data, have defined personas, and then they create these persona-centric journeys. And then they spend a lot of time, user research effort, time and money to conduct a feedback loop on their designs that they are building out. With AI, there is now new capabilities that have emerged that enables you to simulate real-world personas. And it's somewhat better to get that feedback early, because anytime you involve a human in an experiment, there's what is in the industry called a say-do gap. What they say is different than what they actually do. And this persona simulation capabilities might help bridge those gaps and be able to get some real feedback by leveraging power of AI. This isn't to replace the actual user research, but it might enable us to get feedback that we are not able to get through traditional user research.
Well, this was fantastic. I think you covered, I think, a lot of for us, and I was kind of taking a lot of notes, right? You're giving us great nuggets of information in terms of AI innovation across product, process, experience, compliance, IT, product development. So we kind of looking at the whole whirlwind and kind of taking the conversation forward from an AI arbitrage piece. I had our teams did a research which says, right, and again, I kind of completely agree when you said the 2x, 4x piece. We were doing a bit of an analysis in terms of the cost savings that we see from AI and retirements industry over the next 5 years. We see this to be, from an efficiency perspective, almost $16 billion plus. So that's a massive efficiency gains that we can do. And it's not just about efficiency and productivity, as you mentioned, right? A lot of this is about the experience. It's about the ability to get that compliance. And I know, Mahesh, I wanted you to come in, right? Because you are building this, right? You are actually deploying this. You are seeing real customer challenges and kind of driving this change and using AI. So I wanted to hear from you, right? What are those use cases? What is the impact that you are seeing?
Absolutely. I know, as Parul touched on, right, as a software provider and also provider of niche operational services, we're already embedding some of these things either into the platform or into the services, which become service as a software. So I think that's the first one, right? There is an expectation these are going to be embedded, not sold AI as a separate thing. So that's clearly one pattern. The other one customers are asking us and expecting is the 3 E's, I call it: experience, efficiency, and effectiveness. And are we able to deliver on those 3 E's with whatever the AI is, right? Whether it's a plan onboarding, processing payroll files, and helping a participant, and all the use cases that Paril talked about. And how we think about this is in the first way that Paril called about. There are a lot of boring problems that is still unaddressed. And I think there is still a big opportunity. I think the efficiency scale that you mentioned, and that is still ongoing work. Not everybody has scaled that peak. And in my view, there's a ton of activity, whether it's scanning a trust statement or wherever there is data moving between systems or people and systems, we see there is an application of AI. Wherever there is document coming in or going out, of course, there could be AI. Or wherever there is complexity, we all do this in our own lives. We go to ChatGPT or Gemini, take a complex situation and ask it to help us simplify things. And I think that exists in whether it's a plan document, that exists in participant disclosures. It could be a number of such use cases. And all of those are being done today, right? Either provided as part of the platform, or clients are trying to decide, do I buy or build? And that's a constant question that comes our way. The other thing that we get asked all the time is, what do I do with the data? Because nobody has a clean, modern foundation, right? Everybody has patched it over a period of time. And they ask us, okay, AI bot is good or an agent is good, but unless I figured out, how do I feed that with the right food, it's not going to perform. So that's another, work we continue to do using our platform. And in cases where customers don't buy our platform, we work with them to figure out what's the best way to clean up the data in a way it supports, some of these AI use cases. But the reason why I mentioned the plateau at the beginning of the call is I would say the low-hanging fruits are already starting to getting into production. And what is next, right? Is there a game changer in terms of how the industry is going to change the business model? And that's a question starting to come. But I think that's an opportunity for, I would say, early adopters to really look into, because they can easily solve the boring problems either by buy or build. So that's kind of a quick gamut of what we see. So happy to dive deep.
Yeah. No, and I think as I reflect again, Mahesh, on what you said, but also what Tim and Parul said, it kind of comes together very beautifully for me, right?
Yeah.
Which is this AI value journey is absolutely this marathon,
Yeah.
and all of us are trying to solve for the business problems, right? Which is
Yeah.
facing our plan participants, our sponsors, our record keepers, our regulators, and how do we, as you mentioned, Mahesh, how do we ensure, right? It's AI is not just for the efficiency bit for it, but also the accuracy, the effectiveness, and the experience of it.
Yeah.
And how do you do this in a manner where that what Paril mentioned, the 2x, 5x kind of a gain?
Right.
How do we get that arbitrage going? So there's at least, I think, listening to all three of you, I have a higher degree of conviction that there is a lot of AI value that we can generate. It's not just the buzzword bingo right now, but there is a lot of work that also needs to be done to get there, right? Again, Manish, what you mentioned from data to what Paril mentioned in terms of around our process, in terms of our technology, Tim mentioned around regulations and the readiness of the industry to be able to do this. We do see all of that kind of coming together as we speak.
Right.
I wanted to ask our audience as well, get their views on this, right? Because we shared our views on where we see AI making the biggest impact. And given this is an audience which is already investing so much into I thought it's very important to ask, right? Again, where are all of you seeing impact, the biggest impact, right, in the retirement industry? And we chose a few solutions. I know Paril talked about fraud. I know Tim talked about compliance testing, um, and even the investment advice and personalization use case Tim spoke about. Mahesh, you spoke about some of the plan onboarding and the participant communications and the experience around it.
Yeah.
So we spoke about all of these use cases, but now I thought let's get a view, right? Where are we seeing more impact in the industry right now? Where is this group seeing it? I don't know, Paril, any views? Where would you see this changing?
Uh, to me, it's going to be across the board. I do think that compliance monitoring is going to be some of the game changers as well. I kind of talked about security monitoring, but even think about coaching and developing your employees in a contact center environment, in an operations environment. How even if you uplift performance of your team to the next level or to the consistent level, what wonders can it do from a cost reduction perspective, customer satisfaction perspective, compliance perspective? So I do believe it will be across the board.
Tim, do you agree?
I do. I see it in a number of different areas, back office applications, but we're going to have to worry about how data privacy issues interrelate with that. We're going to see challenges with regard to standardizations. We'll have to worry about AI governance and the role Spark can play in that is helping with the legislative and regulatory discussions. And on that front, we haven't seen rules yet from the DOL or SEC on the use of AI, but we certainly anticipate them. And so those are the areas that I think we'll definitely see the impact coming.
Okay, let's look at the responses. Close the poll. Okay, so I think Paril, you actually, and Tim, you both, right? You said, hey, this is going to be all over the place, but there's one place which is almost 1/3 of the respondents have said participant servicing and communications. Right. Mahesh, any views? Why do we see this?
I think it's pretty easy, right? Because everybody that's responding is also a participant in some sense, because we get a lot of support from all the different AI tools in our personal lives to summarize an email, to do a bunch of things. I don't get the same experience often when I go to corporate, and whether it's financial services or record keeping or whatever business. That's one. And then number two is, without crossing the regulatory line, there is a lot to be done even in simplifying at fee disclosure, right? Even for folks sitting in the industry, it's complicated. For somebody that's not in retirement, AI could play a huge role in just simply telling them what the fees mean, or nudging them, as an example that Paril mentioned, so people can relate to this. And I think today there was a survey that came out again in terms of participant outcomes. Despite all the advances in technology, the outcomes are never enough. So I think for those reasons, I see that will continue to be top whenever you poll.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, if I look at the other ones also, right, plan onboarding and conversion, a lot of this, and even investment advice and personalization, these are the top three. And the center theme around this is experience. It's around the participant outcome in one way or the other as we look at it, and how we can drive that. Definitely compliance was one where we were hoping to get more responses, but we didn't get. So which also kind of goes back to, Tim, your point, where the clarity or the lack of clarity from regulators in terms of the use of AI definitely is something which also kind of puts us on the back out here in terms of the impact. Would you agree, Tim, as you see the response out here?
Yes, and I want to make a point here, Ronak, with regard to the guidance from both the SEC and the DOL on this. Certainly, they are going to be focused in a number of different areas. They're going to be focused on making sure that whatever guidance or advice that is provided is that it's unbiased, that it's auditable, that it's traceable, that they understand, that the participant understands the advice that they're giving, and some of the dilemmas that really sound tools can potentially cause is, imagine that you were driving down a highway in 2005, and there's a big accident on the highway, and your GPS AI tells you to get off and take these back roads, and well, you're golden. In 2025, that same AI tool that tells you to get off the highway and tells you to go these back roads is telling millions of other drivers on that same highway to do the same thing. And those back roads quickly become exactly the kind of traffic jam you wanted to avoid. So, if we talk about investment advice, and then these AI tools they're unbiased, they're great, they're awesome, but everyone starts to use them in a way. You can imagine how quickly good advice turns bad advice when everybody starts to use it in the market. So there's going to be a lot of things that regulators are going to have to grapple with when they're looking at the application of AI, particularly with regard to investment advice.
No, again, I completely agree, right? And again, I think that's the area where there's a lot of work needed, and also I think the community coming together to kind of solve some of this collectively will be needed as we think that. We're getting a few questions from the audience, and I wanted to take a couple of these. So I'm gonna kind of look at these, right? So I think the first one, right, which is, to what extent do we foresee AI being used to help plan sponsors self-service, right, on the dashboard of the plan sponsor website, mobile app, by the end of 2026, right? So this is a question, like, again, to create custom report, segmented participant data. And Mahesh, you're nodding already, so I'm going to come to you, right?
Sure.
Would you want to take this one?
I'm happy to do that. I mean, it's not a question of to the what extent, it's happening now, right? So whether it's our product or others building, simple things is sponsors need a lot of data for whether it's reports. And I think Parul touched on natural language processing, give them a simple NLP interface to query reports and create reports. It's happening now on one level. I think the second level is sponsors have a fiduciary responsibility also for the outcomes. And as much as the participants need the nudge, sponsors need the insights. And the same thing, right? If I am an advisor sitting with a sponsor, and again, back to even the earlier question, where do we see the adoption? The adoption is going to be serving up insights and nudging both the advisor and the sponsor to take the right action. And we already see that, it's just beyond a dashboard, but a dashboard infused with some of this AI capabilities, or even an advisor generating, saying, look, sponsors like you did this. That's a huge, huge benefit, right? People expect the Amazon type experience. And we see that now, right? It's not the future, not 2026, it's 2025.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I'll take one more question, and this is from one of my friends attending the webinar, so I'm not going to take their name, so for privacy concern, but what is the panel's view on the art of the possible around participant communications, right? Because this is a bit of a set of evolutionary capabilities. Are there examples, or what are winning firms doing now, and how should we be thinking about it? I don't know, Parul, Mahesh, anyone of you want to talk about this?
Yeah, certainly. So, we talk about AI and use of analytics in creating hyper-personalized experiences, even messaging. What resonates with me may not resonate with you. So I remember, like, about maybe 9 years ago, I was part of a program where we built out hyper-personalized nudges for participants. But when we say hyper-personalized, it was still limited in the number of experiments you can conduct, number of variations or variant of the same message you can generate to kind of experiment with. Now with use of generative AI and the persona simulation capabilities that I was talking about, you can quickly experiment and ground your research not just on some sample that you did, but to actually get unbiased feedback early on to drive actual consumer behavior change. So leveraging AI to drive those behavioral changes are going to be really, really super critical. Even as simple as recommending something to someone. how, or even when somebody has a question, how do we answer that question precisely? So how much can I contribute? Instead of bringing the entire rule book that says, hey, if you're below 50, do this. If you're above 50, if you're in a 403B plan, if you are in a 457B plan, these are your catch-up contribution rules. What if instead the solution is capable of understanding who you are, what type of plan you are in, and be able to bring precise information that is relevant to you? And that to me is going to be the game changer in being able to bring that level of specificity that is usable without somebody having to become expert in the domain.
I would add the
Hey,
other
Ronak,
side of that coin.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Both
Yeah, I
of
was
you.
just
Can
saying
I jump in?
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
No, Mahesh, go ahead.
So I was just saying the other side of the coin, right? I think there is a lot of focus on participants in terms of an accumulation phase. But increasingly now we are also saying the decumulation phase is where a lot of help is needed, because that's when there is an asset base sitting, whether it's in 401k or outside. A lot of decisions have to be made when somebody is north of 50. And that's a huge area untapped, in my view, in applying AI as it relates to participant experience, not just for accumulating assets, but on the decumulation side as well.
Yeah.
Ronak, let me just add in there for a moment some historical perspective. So what we've experienced when we've done some research of participants, we've spoke to participants, plan sponsors, record keepers, advisors. What we heard from plan participants is that they want help and that they need help with everyday financial decisions. The retirement plan doesn't sit in its own little silo. It sits in a silo with dozens of other competing demands on their money. It might be putting their children through school, it might be taking care of an elderly parent, it could be buying a first home. It's all of these other things. And I think what I've said in it before is wealthy people have always, throughout time, had all of the resources to help them with those types of questions. The cost to deliver that to the masses has been insurmountable. So now AI allows for the first time us to provide these kinds of tools and this kind of guidance that can help an individual decide, should my next dollar go into my HSA? Should it go into my retirement plan? Should it go into paying off my debt? So these types of questions that everybody deals with every single day can be helped by AI.
And Tim, there's one more question from the audience, right? So this is about, and again, you already kind of started to hint around this, is are there any litigation concerns with using AI in providing guidance or advice to participants or plan sponsors?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I mentioned it a little earlier, and that is going to be the auditability of the advice, to be able to track it, to audit it, and to be able to validate that it's unbiased. So those are all going to be things that we have to be concerned about, because if we're not concerned about it, the litigators will be.
Yeah, fair point. That's an important question. And there are, again, all of you, please keep the questions coming. I know there are several questions coming in. I'll try to come back to it. I want to ask a few of my own planned questions, and I'm going to come back to all the questions, but these are amazing questions that are coming in, and I would hate not to answer this. And again, even if you're not able to answer those, we'll get back to you with our point of views on this. So please keep the questions coming in. Tim, I'm going to come back to you because we're talking about all of this, right? So litigation we spoke about, speaking about personalization, we're speaking about AI in this highly regulated sector, right? So I wanted to understand, right? So what does that responsible AI look like, right? Because we need to reconcile the need for personalization or hyper personalization we spoke about, but also managing privacy and data protection pieces. How are you seeing responsible AI and all of this coming together?
I suppose when we think about AI, it starts really with one principle, And that is that AI provides augmented judgment, not an abdication of responsibility. We exist in a fiduciary environment. We can't outsource decisions to a black box, no matter how advanced the technology is. So again, going back, it'll have to be explainable to both plan sponsors and to participants. It's going to have to be auditable so that regulators and auditors can reconstruct the system. It's going to have to be unbiased models that can be validated. And then it's got to be transparent to participants. And then all of that has to be done in an environment with the strictest cybersecurity and protocols.
And if I could add,
go ahead, Carl. Yeah.
I could jump in. Sorry. I totally agree with Tim. And he kind of described like some of the components of the responsible AI framework. What I would add is, again, my view is that these checks cannot be just one time, right? Point in time at the time of solution development, model development, you tested for it. These checks should be embedded throughout the life cycle of that solution. Because input data may drift from these initial training scenarios that you may have used at the time of testing. And that can lead to your degradation of the performance of your model and raise concerns about model's validity, its reliability, fairness, bias, etc. Right? So to address that, we highly think about how should teams define and monitor the KPI necessary to ensure that the model and the solution remains compliant and within the acceptable thresholds, so that any changes in those KPIs that are outside of the the data distribution you are expecting, you can detect it, you can quickly respond to that. And for critical use cases, what that means is having contingency plan in place. So should your model begin to drift to an unacceptable level, having in place some approaches, some alternative solutions for the sake of business continuity to ensure your service to participants and plan sponsors does not degrade as a result. So to me, that's kind of really key. And in addition, like, any AI-driven decision has to be fully recorded for auditability purposes with right traceability and explainability. And Tim, I love the way you said it, right? Ultimately, AI can be used to increase task automation, but emphasis throughout has to be that humans, not AI, is accountable for the decisions and the consequences that black box is making.
No, that's fantastic, right? So human in the loop and kind of, in one step lock out there. But Parul, on that thought, right? There is risk, right, inherently in doing all of this. So we want to drive the innovation, right? We spoke about so much of these use cases around product, process, compliance, all of those innovative use cases. But there is a need for risk containment, right? How do you balance that, right? Innovation need with risk containment.
Yeah, I mean, like any innovation, right? No matter what it is, even when the industry started doing cloud-based modernization, right? There were risks associated with that technology. So to me, innovation and risks, they are not on the opposite side of the coin, right? They go hand in hand. So the key to success, like anything else, is to be very, very strategic in how you adopt AI, how you develop your solution, how you roll them out, leveraging pilot programs, implementing continuous monitoring, and having a strong governance structure. I do believe that's going to be like a key to our success. Those firms that have a robust responsible AI framework will come out ahead in the long run. And let's not forget, culture matters, right? Risk and innovation teams, they have to collaborate. The compliance team have to be part of this journey from the beginning. And having that solid responsible AI framework would give the confidence to organizations to innovate boldly without compromising any of the responsibilities that they have. And finally, what we were talking about earlier, right? Remember, AI can actually improve your compliance. So for example, AI can monitor 100% of your calls versus you sampling your calls for quality and flagging those issues in real time. So in summary, I would say balancing innovation risk is about being proactive with your strategy and your culture. Start small, scale mindfully. Uh, Use AI to manage risk. And that might be a great way to get your risk partners on board. So don't think of it as a risk. Think of it as a risk control tool. Maintain that strong governance throughout so that the risk management grows alongside your innovation, like something that goes hand in hand. Keep a close watch as to what's happening. Learn and adapt quickly as you need to.
Yeah, no, I think Paril, the big message is shift left on the risk management piece of it. It cannot be an afterthought as we're kind of doing this. So this is fantastic. I want to do my last poll for our audience right now, because I wanted to understand from this group what are they seeing as concerns in using AI in retirement plan administration, right? Because we spoke a lot about what are the use cases that we are seeing, the impact of those use cases, where are folks already seeing the impact? We spoke about risk, compliance, regulation, responsible AI, litigation. I think we covered a whole bunch of stuff. I couldn't even believe that we could cover so much within such short amount of time. So this is fantastic that we were able to do this. So I wanted to, get the audience view, right? So what is your biggest concern about using AI and retirement plan administration, right? Is it around data privacy, security, compliance, bias, fairness, loss of human oversight? We already spoke about the human in the loop, or it's about skills or resources, right? So let's see what the audience will have to say on this. And then Mahesh, I would want you to kind of reflect on the responses that come in, and so talk a little bit about, right, what are you seeing in the industry from a technology adoption curve, specifically when it comes to AI in this space. So okay, let's look at the results. Okay, Mike, what are your views on this?
I think there's no surprise, right? I think data privacy, security, it just, the data is exploding. I think it's no surprise that kind of floats on top. I think there's layers of, I would say, work done, whether it's by the AI providers or the hyperscalers, and every implementation we run into this, right? All the time in any implementation, this is by far the longest pole in the tent in getting approvals. So I think I see that as a good one. The loss of human oversight kind of surprises me as a concern. I would have expected the lack of internal skills or even orienting people to drive responsible AI as a concern. So those are my two quick observations. Interestingly, bias or fairness is a pretty small number, so which means people are starting to trust AI, is how I interpret it.
Yeah. It's like if we are starting to use AI in our daily lives to plan our vacations or to, plan our grocery shopping list to all of those, then why not kind of in this, right? Again, I think that's the trust order that we are seeing. So we are trusting our Siri Alexa now.
Yeah.
And Ronak, if I can share an example, it actually might even answer some of the questions that I'm seeing in the question around age, bias, fairness. And it's not coming from a retirement industry. It's coming from my personal situation with my parents. They are 80 plus years old, and they have like some interesting medical conditions that are some chronic in nature. And my dad has been watching YouTube like crazy. And without my knowledge, he has been researching all these medications he has been taking. And as physicians and doctors and specialists make changes to the medications, as soon as those changes occur or he observes some symptoms, he's constantly looking up on YouTube. And reason I'm sharing this example is because he probably had never even touched YouTube 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Today, last week, we had a nephrologist appointment. He asked superb questions that were so detailed and so thorough that the nephrologist was like completely surprised and caught off guard. Why am I bringing this example? I believe what YouTube did with AI and creating the feeds on the topics that he was interested in, he was able to get information information become accessible to him that he wouldn't have been able to use by just doing typical searches on search engines that were out there. And I do believe AI has the ability to simplify that complex, make things accessible for people of any from any folks of from any age group in any situation, and make them more informed consumers. And as a result, as a provider, that nephrologist had to be a lot more savvier in how she responded to my father. And I do believe record keepers have to be thinking about how are they going to serve those savvy customers who are now learning from the internet and leveraging AI in their personal lives.
So age may not be that barrier in terms of predictability of, or say the acceptability of AI, right? So folks may accept a lot more of this than we actually give them credit. No, that's amazing. Mahesh, couple of minutes from you, right? Yep. Again, given you come from the software industry side, you are building these products. How are you seeing the tech adoption curve, and how do you see it will evolve?
Here is the way to think about, right? A lot of record keepers take a very cautious approach to anything new. So I think that's a known thing. But as I think Tim was saying at the beginning, right, this is just a survival tool, not just another tool. This is a survival tool. So not just AI, but I think all of them are realizing broadly technology is now seen as the only way to survive in this fee compression era. So what I see is there is still another 2 years of, let's call it, cruise to get the 3 E's, right? Experience, efficiencies, and effectiveness. I think everybody is going to be all over it. Some of the leaders are going to use that 2-year window to not only do that, but invest in foundational things for completely changing the business model. Again, all within the regulatory boundaries, but to truly enable not just their employees, but enable the advisors, enable the sponsors, and change the game, right? That's kind of how I see that. For the next 2 years, that's why I called it, maybe plateau may not be the right word, but there is still low-hanging fruits people have to harvest. And I think that's how I see for the next few years. But the leaders are already investing in talent, modernizing technology platforms, and cleaning up data so that they can get to the next one.
Oh, again, that's really well put. So I know we have 3 minutes to wrap up. So last question to all three of you. And I'm going to start, Paril, with you, and then go to Tim, and then go to Mahesh to wrap us up. But same question to all three of you, right? In 30-second response, right? What's that one thing you would tell a retirement provider today about preparing for AI of the future, right? So let's think of AI in 2030, like retirement in 2030 and the impact of AI on it. What is that one thing that you would definitely want to give as a recommendation out here? Paril, I'm going to start with you.
I have 5 things, but I'll start with one. Definitely invest in talent and upskilling. Happy to come back to the other 4 if need to.
Okay. Tim?
My suggestion is to remember that when we are talking about AI, we have to remember, as Paril mentioned earlier, it's a tool. And the measure of this moment won't be whether AI dazzles us, because I think people have already been dazzled by it, but whether it ends up helping to guide us with wisdom. And we have to remember that every line of code and every prediction that it provides, every data point, must ultimately bend towards serving that human life, those human dreams that individuals have. And if we use it in that capacity, it's going to work out well.
Great, Mahesh.
I'll have a different take. Rather than saying prepare for AI, if it's especially 2030, what I would tell retirement providers is to think about the demographic change that's happening, especially in 2030. There are going to be more people older than 50 than less than 50, and all of them having, thousands and millions of dollars, wondering, what do I do with it? How do I spend it? And will it last my life, right? So that's the problem, we're going to have. And how do you apply AI there?
No, that's brilliant idea, right? Again, all of these are such amazing thoughts. Kind of looking at retirement adequacy in the future, plan coverage, talking about AI as a tool, or talking about the talent and workforce in parallel. I'm hoping for a LinkedIn post from you for kind of covering the remaining four. So note for everyone, do
We'll do
follow
that.
for look at look at what the other four things were. But all three of you, this was such a fantastic conversation. I had a blast. I learned a lot, and I kind of took a lot of copious notes. I'm sure our audience also took great takeaways on this one. Mahesh, Paril, Tim, thank you for your time. This was a great discussion. And thank you, all of you, for staying along with us and sharing your questions and responding to all our questions and polls.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
me.
much.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.